The Storm Prediction Center does not use words like potentially significant tornado threat casually. They are precise people. They choose their language deliberately. And when they apply that designation to Monday's setup, pointing at the corridor from Des Moines all the way down through Dallas-Fort Worth, it is because what the models are showing for Monday is a genuinely dangerous atmospheric configuration. But before we get to Monday, let's understand the full scope of what is developing, because this is not a one-day story. What is setting up across the United States right now is a marathon, a 2 to 3 week stretch of continuous severe weather activity, from the Great Plains to the East Coast, driven by a pattern that has locked in along the West Coast and is going to keep feeding storm systems eastward one after another, each one capable of producing severe weather, each one targeting the central and eastern United States, back to back to back. This kind of pattern, persistent troughing on the West Coast, acting as an atmospheric engine, does not turn off quickly once it establishes itself. It is a conveyor belt. And right now, that conveyor belt is fully loaded. Let's start with what's happening on the ground today, because even before the weekend outbreak begins, this morning's temperature readings deserve a moment. Minnesota and Wisconsin are recording temperatures below zero this morning, in April. This is not close to a seasonal record for cold. It is breaking record lows for this date. Sub-zero temperatures in early April in these states are extremely rare. This kind of cold typically belongs to late January or early February, not the second week of April. And it is happening right now while the southern plains are warming rapidly ahead of the approaching storm systems. That temperature contrast, sub-zero in Minnesota, spring warmth surging north through Texas and Oklahoma, is itself the engine of what is coming this weekend and into next week. The sharper the contrast between cold air to the north and warm, moist air to the south, the more energy is available to the atmosphere. And right now, that contrast is extreme. Light snow has fallen overnight across Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri, and into Illinois. A brief reminder that winter has not fully released its grip across the upper tier. An Alberta clipper dropping out of Canada is also delivering snow to the upper peninsula of Michigan and the Green Bay area this morning. Meanwhile, Florida is receiving beneficial rainfall, genuinely needed rain for a state that has been suffering through one of the more serious droughts of this season. That moisture in Florida is a small bright spot in an otherwise complex and active pattern. Now, the setup for the weekend and beyond. Thursday and Friday bring the opening salvo, a marginal severe weather risk across Kansas, stretching down into the Texas Panhandle near Midland. Isolated large hail and gusty winds. Not the headliner, not the dangerous day, but the atmospheric stage begins to load during this period, and the storms that fire Thursday and Friday are the preview of what comes next. Saturday, the dryline begins to press east across West Texas and into Oklahoma. A low-end tornado threat joins the large hail and damaging wind risk for West Texas and Oklahoma. Again, not the most dangerous day, but this is the day you start paying attention if you're in this part of the country. The atmosphere is already charging. Sunday is when the intensity escalates sharply. The storm system becomes better organized on Sunday. Deep moisture streaming northward from the Gulf of Mexico meets the advancing cold air and dry line across the central corridor. And the result is a severe weather threat that stretches from Houston and San Antonio in the south, northward through Dallas-Fort Worth, Oklahoma City, and Wichita, all the way up to Springfield, Missouri. That is a massive geographic corridor. Millions of people across Texas, Oklahoma, and southern Missouri are in the threat zone on Sunday. Very large hail, baseball-sized and larger, is possible. Damaging winds and tornadoes. Discrete supercells along the I-35 corridor on Sunday will have the moisture, the instability, and the wind shear to produce organized tornadoes. Now, Monday. The day I want you to understand most clearly. Monday is when the setup reaches its most classic and most dangerous configuration. A sharp dry line, a boundary between extremely dry air to the west and deep, humid Gulf moisture to the east, will set up in a textbook position across the southern plains, and a low-pressure system will be positioned to maximize wind shear throughout the atmosphere at all levels. This is the setup that meteorologists recognize immediately as a high-end severe weather day. Everything is in alignment. The surface boundaries are sharp. The low-level jet is loaded. The mid-level winds provide the rotation. The cap, the warm air layer that holds storms in check until the afternoon, will break explosively during the afternoon heating hours, releasing the full atmospheric energy at once. Discrete supercells will fire along the dry line from roughly Des Moines, Iowa, southward through Kansas City, southward through Wichita, Oklahoma City, and all the way down into Dallas, Fort Worth, and East Texas. These storms will be capable of producing significant long-track tornadoes. The designation, potentially significant tornado threat, covers this corridor. That means organized, violent tornadoes are not a marginal possibility. They are a realistic expectation if the setup verifies the way the models are showing. Monday is not a day to be complacent about. If you live anywhere along that corridor, from Iowa through Kansas, Oklahoma, and into North Texas, have your shelter plan in place before Sunday night. Know where you are going. Have your phone charged and alerts active. Monday afternoon and evening are the highest consequence hours of this entire setup. And then the pattern continues. Tuesday does not simply end the threat, it shifts it. The system tracks east into the Ozarks and the broader southern plains as a new disturbance approaches from the west. The cycle is already reloading. By the middle of next week, another round of significant severe weather is possible across the Ozarks and the Mississippi Valley. And behind that system, in a cruel seasonal twist, winter makes a brief return across the Midwest and Great Lakes. Snow and ice are possible across parts of the upper Midwest mid to late next week, as cold air wraps around the departing storm system. Tornadoes and very large hail one day, snow and ice the next, from the same atmospheric pattern. This is what the next several weeks look like. I want to address the 2 to 3 week scope directly, because this is not me reaching for the dramatic. The models are consistent. The jet stream pattern that is establishing itself, troughing locked along the west coast and desert southwest, a persistent ridge sitting over the southeast, is a pattern that historically delivers repeated, organized severe weather across the central United States for extended periods. Days of severe weather potential are stacking up on the calendar through approximately the 20th of April. Not every day will be a major outbreak. Some days will be marginal threats, but the baseline level of atmospheric activity for the next 2 to 3 weeks is significantly elevated above normal. What this means practically: if you live anywhere in the corridor from the Central Plains through the Ohio Valley and into the Mid-Atlantic, the next 2 to 3 weeks require a consistent level of preparedness that goes beyond what a typical spring week demands. Keep alerts active. Stay informed before severe weather days, not the morning of. Know your shelter location wherever you spend time, at home, at work, in a vehicle. There is one important note about temperatures during this period. While the activity is extreme, the temperature anomalies are not going to reach the levels we saw earlier this season with the record-shattering March heat. The pattern is volatile, warm and cold air alternating, but not dominated by persistent extreme heat. The plains will see temperatures surge ahead of each cold front, potentially into the 80s and beyond by late in this period. But no sustained March-style heatwave is on the horizon. The energy driving this pattern is kinetic, not thermal. And for the southeast, Georgia and northern Florida continue to benefit from the early week moisture. The drought conditions in these areas have been severe, and this rainfall is genuinely welcomed. Whether the pattern continues to deliver additional moisture to the southeast over the coming weeks depends on the storm track, which remains centered on the central United States. Here is your clean timeline. Today, Minnesota, Wisconsin. Record sub-zero temperatures for April. Historic cold for this date. Light snow across Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri, and Illinois. Alberta Clipper bringing snow to the Upper Peninsula and Green Bay. Florida receiving beneficial drought-relieving rainfall. Thursday and Friday, Kansas, Texas Panhandle. Marginal severe weather threat. Large hail and gusty winds near Midland and across southern Kansas. The opening phase, atmosphere begins to load. Saturday, West Texas, Oklahoma. Low-end tornado threat joins hail and wind. The dry line begins its eastward push. Pay attention if you're in this region. Sunday, Houston through Springfield corridor. Storm system organizes. Severe weather from Houston and San Antonio northward through Dallas-Fort Worth, Oklahoma City, Wichita, into Springfield, Missouri. Very large hail, damaging winds, organized tornadoes along the I-35 corridor. Monday, Des Moines through East Texas. This is the most dangerous day. Sharp dry line setup. Potentially significant tornado threat. Discrete supercells capable of long-track, violent tornadoes from Iowa through Kansas, Oklahoma, and into North Texas. Have your plan ready before Sunday night. Mid to late next week. Severe weather continues into the Ozarks, Winter briefly returns to the Midwest and Great Lakes with snow and ice behind the departing system. Another significant severe weather round developing. Through approximately April 20th. Elevated severe weather potential nearly every day across the central and eastern United States. Stay consistently informed and prepared. We will be tracking every day of this closely. We'll see you in the next update.